Next I want to talk about is basically a little bit of politics. I forgot to. I don't know if maybe this happened right when I guess maybe you could say I forgot to mention. I don't know, something like that. But either way, what I'm trying to say is that I'd like to mention to you guys that this one Senate race in the state of Michigan is like happening. Now, obviously, there's gonna be a primary in I think August the 6th. So I'm looking for blue star chips with my brothers, but we haven't found any. Yeah. So there's this one like Michigan primary in August the 6th. Obviously, the Democratic primary is going to be a corporate Democrat that's running, and you guys know me. Like, I firmly oppose corporate Democrats and stuff. Well, I mean Democrats and actually Democrats in general and Republicans because they both work for the same corrupt institutions, and even the ones that say they were going to fight for the people, they don't ever fight for the people. So, but. Here's the thing, there's this one Senate race in the Republican primary in Michigan where this one former Congress member, Justin Amash, is actually running in the Republican primary. And that's a bit surprising considering that he basically left the House of Representatives in 2020 because he said he was disillusioned with how Trump is the main leader of the party. I bet you anything you'll find blue searches around here, boing. Yeah, so he was disillusioned with Trump being the leader of the party, so he basically left the Republican Party and became an independent. Now in 2020, he then joined the Libertarian Party, and that was the only time in history where a Libertarian was serving. Of course, he was elected as a Republican, not as a Libertarian, so technically that doesn't count, but it was quite interesting that he joined as a Libertarian, So, yeah, he joined as a Libertarian, and he was a Libertarian till the last days in Congress, and he left in obviously January 3rd, 2021, and you'd think he'd not go into politics again, but this time he is actually running as a Republican in the Republican primary. Now, you guys do remember my old videos, especially Super Mario Sunshine, where I talked about those good Republicans, I'm talking about those Ron Paul Republicans where they are the libertarian-ish Republicans. And actually that would include Rand Paul as well. Now that was back then. I'm going to explain a little bit more later, where I said about, vote for these Republicans, these libertarian-esque Republicans, because, these are the ones I can tolerate, Now you guys are wondering, okay, so now you have a candidate like Justin Amash who is a libertarian-ish Republican that is running in the Republican primary. And also another sad fact about him is that his relatives are Palestinian because Justin Amash, he's half Syrian, half Palestinian, and his relatives unfortunately were killed in the Israeli airstrike where they were hiding in a church for shelter because Amash, he is Christian, and his relatives were Palestinian Christians, and they were unfortunately killed by an Israeli airstrike. And that is something to take of note. But the thing is though is that now you guys are wondering, this is some guy that I would vote for in the Republican primary. And my answer to that would be, unfortunately, no, he would not be someone I would vote for. And you're wondering, well, why is that? Because I have been saying about, these libertarian-ish Republicans I would vote for. Well, the thing is though is that it kind of goes hand in hand with how I view Democrats, because as you guys know, I mainly supported progressive Democrats, someone like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and the Squad in general, when they won their primaries against corrupt corporate Democrats. And I was really happy with how that turned out. But then, of course, as you guys know, they kind of basically betrayed all their principles. They started supporting Nancy Pelosi. They also supported the proxy war in Ukraine and stuff. And they weren't as harsh on Israel as I would hope to be. Now, of course, they are now, but I'm talking about back then when, when I wanted them to be. Back when I knew that how Israel's corrupt, Nazi white supremacist state, and even then they didn't do anything about it. And and even though they are they are talking about this kind of stuff, I'm still not impressed and everything because You know, as you guys know, there are also other issues besides Israel that I want them to be against, but they're not. And specifically, as in, I want them to be against their own party, as in against Nancy Pelosi and Hakeem Jeffries. Of course, I am aware he is the minority leader right now, not Nancy Pelosi. She's still in Congress, unfortunately, but now it's Hakeem Jeffries. And even then, they're still willing to vote for, you know, Hakeem Jeffries and stuff. I also heard that they're actually willing to vote for keep Mike Johnson's seat as Speaker of the House when he gets to vote on the bill to fund the Ukraine proxy war. Yeah, unfortunately, it's still going because they said they were going to go back to it after the Easter recess. I hope it doesn't pass, but it probably might, considering that now there would be Democrats that are willing to, you know, vote for him, like keep his speaker seat just to vote for the proxy war. Because the thing is that even though there was this one bill that would vote for sending money to both Israel and Taiwan, now the Israel thing, that's one thing the squad are against, but they said they're willing to vote on it separately, so like vote on a standalone Ukraine bill and not vote for anything for Israel. So they basically vote for a standalone bill for Ukraine and Taiwan, but not for Israel. I mean, of course, they probably have the votes for Israel, but you get the idea. The votes would be separate, so hence they wouldn't support it, you know? But that's the thing that might happen. I hope it doesn't, like just funding the Ukraine proxy war, which would get us closer to nuclear annihilation. So that's the thing that, like, you know, is going to happen, and yeah, and like I hope it doesn't. And that's what I'm saying, like, you know, there are Republicans, even though they are like libertarianish minded Republicans, that still support, you know, this corrupt duopoly, as in they still support these corrupt officials that, you know, would still like do their bidding and everything. And Rand Paul is like the same way, like as in he supported like, you know, Mitch McConnell and all his corrupt endeavors and stuff and other stuff. Because as a matter of fact, I did said that I would have voted for Rand Paul in the general election back in the 2016 election, but in 2022, I would not have voted for him, but I also wouldn't have voted for this other, like, you know, general election candidate. I think his name was Charles Murphy. I think I'm getting the name wrong, but I know he ran as progressive before against this one, you know, United States House of Representative candidate back when he was trying to run against Mitch McConnell. He didn't win the general election, unfortunately. I would have voted for him in the primary, but then when the Ukraine proxy war happened, he said he was all for it and also all for supporting like Chuck Schumer and everything. So the thing was though is that I would not have voted for Rand Paul in 2022, but I would have certainly not voted for Charles Murphy in the general election either. So I would have voted third party in the 2022 midterms in Kentucky, you know? So that goes the same as well with how I view Justin Amash, because I feel as though he would not stand up against the party establishment in the Republican Party, you know? So anyway, excuse me. Think you can catch me, Boyum? Okay, we gotta catch him. Alright. Yeah, I'm assuming I'm gonna have to press something to, you know... Ah, yeah, press this thing. There we go. I'll lose the bee suit. So it'll make it a lot easier for me. There we go. Boyan, you got me. Alright then, take this. What does that one question mark thing do? Let me see if I could just explore, like, check it out. Why not? Oh, there's several of them. What do they do? You just slide them? Oh, okay, they just break for star bits. That's interesting. Yeah, anyway, so that's what I'm saying. So unfortunately, if he would not get my endorsement. I would not vote for him in the primary unless, here's the thing. If he were to win the Republican primary, he'd literally drop that party and just run as a libertarian. or as in he basically just run in the primary and say he's against the FBI, the CIA, Israel, and all that other stuff, and say how he would never support whoever is the next Republican, leader in the Senate. Because obviously it's not going to be Mitch McConnell. He's retiring, thankfully. Well, not retiring from the Senate, but he's not going to be, as minority leader. So that's good, but now it's going to be some other crooked official that's going to be the leader in the Senate. You know what I'm saying? So the thing is, though, is that, Justin Amash, he has to promise as to not support the Republican establishment and run as his own candidate, in the, I don't really like this galaxy. I'm probably gonna skip it, for now. I'll come back to it, later, but yeah, I'm not too fond of that one. So, you'd have to run as a, let's run here. Let's go to the trash galaxy, why not? Yeah, so he'd have to run extremely anti-establishment, basically be a Ron Paul Republican, because Ron Paul, he actually was a member of the Republican Party, back back when he was in the House of Representatives. Now, of course, he's not a member of the party right now. He's a member of the Libertarian Party, but he used to keep his party affiliation, yet still be outside the party structure. Now, I don't know if he actually voted for, John Boehner to be Speaker, so I don't know about that. But the thing is, though, is that he ran pretty anti-establishment, and he was anti-establishment all throughout. And when he left Congress, he basically just, just trash-talked, the Congress and how corrupt it is when he left. So that's good of him. And that is my kind of politician in the Republican Party. So hence, if Amash were to be something like that in the Senate, then yeah, sure, I'd vote for him in the primary. He'd actually have to drop running as a Republican and just say I'm running as an independent or a libertarian, and that would definitely get my support. So something like that he has to run in order to get my vote. Of course, I live in Rhode Island, so I can't really vote for him, but get my endorsement per se. Let's see, where should I go? Yeah, 2 Beach Galaxies. I'm not too fond of those, Okay, those I'm kind of done, or none of them I like, so let's try going to the Bedroom Galaxy. Let's try doing that. Oh, okay. Alright, hang on. Yeah, land right here. Yeah, so that's what I'm saying, I'll definitely check his Senate website and see what he's running on. If he is running not as party establishment, I also have to wait a bit and see what he's like. Of course, the primary is a long way away, so I'll definitely take my time with this and see how he's acting like, I would say. And if he is acting like someone that I do approve of, then yeah, sure, I'll give my endorsement to him. So that would definitely be something I'm gonna keep an eye on. Anyway, I don't know if I have anything else to talk about, but blasting through the sand. Maybe I could talk just a little bit more. Just this 1 star I'll probably do, I guess. What is this? Oh, okay. I think this one is quite easy, I think. Maybe not. Or maybe this is the No More Heroes one. I remember when I did that No More Heroes Galaxy. But I guess I'll probably do it. Yeah, so, yeah, what else? So I guess I'm just gonna talk about what I'm doing, maybe, classes and stuff are going pretty well, and, yeah, obviously the whole Israel thing that's happening. So far, they haven't invaded Rafah, which I'm, pretty happy of at the moment. Of course, they're bombing it, but I know why, because, obviously you create more bad press for Israel and the United States, and also it's bad for Biden's poll numbers, so hopefully it doesn't happen. I really don't know. It's quite interesting how Netanyahu's is not viewed positively, even with all that's happened with Palestine. As a matter of fact, there's protests happening and stuff. Yet for Vladimir Putin, when he's doing his war in Ukraine, public has largely supported. I'm aware that there is some Russian opposition, but I genuinely believe the Russian population, like, like fully support this war now, because I do feel like it is a just war. It's kind of similar to, of course they're basically just protecting the Russian speakers in Ukraine, and like, both in Donetsk and Luhansk, and hence I do support it, because like Ukraine is now a neo-Nazi state, even though it's technically not run by Zelensky, because Zelensky, he's just a figurehead. The people around him run it. It's kind of like the deep state that we have in the United States. So hence, I do support like what Vladimir Putin is doing, because technically he is, protecting the people in the Donetsk and Luhansk. Now, of course, I am opposed to all wars, but it's in the same sense that I support the Assad for the Syrian civil war, and also how I supported Armenia in the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. Of course, now I am aware that Armenia completely lost these lands. Now they're fully Azerbaijan, but that's not the fault of the Armenians when they supported. I don't know if they did support like Nikol Pashinyan, his government. His government is a traitorous government. He's basically trying to get himself as a vassal state to the U.S. empire. Of course, I wouldn't say it's a vassal state like completely, but it is somewhat. It's not fully sovereign back then. When it was run by Sargunsian. I can't pronounce his name, but at that time it was a fully sovereign state. Back then, but now it's not. So that's kind of what's happened with Armenia, unfortunately. But it is what it is. But hence, that's kind of what I'm kind of thankful that Assad is a dictatorship regime, because if it was not, then it would have been vulnerable to the U.S. empire's influence, and hence it would have been also more vulnerable to Turkey and Israel, and also the Muslim terrorists in that region. Assad is the only one that's like completely sovereign and keeping these terrorists at bay. So that's what I'm saying, and I do support what Vladimir Putin is doing, and also annexing the Zaporizhia and Kherson region as well, because when the war started, he was trying to get better footing with Ukraine, and in the same way that he was trying to do with Georgia, like he annexed those breakaway regions in Georgia, but he didn't annex Georgia. And even then, when he did that, well, actually, he didn't annex those Georgian regions. Technically, they're their own countries. Specifically, of course, they are they are very in good terms with Russia, and they have deep relations with it, but they're technically not, part of Russia per se. They're their own thing, and that's what Putin was trying to do with Ukraine. But of course, with it being and it was also it being deceived by Boris Johnson and stuff. Hence, that's why, because of that, he fully annexed these 4 regions, because he's trying to do what Georgia was trying to do, but because Ukraine wasn't trying to do what Georgia did back then, because Georgia is still its own country, they still have its sovereignty, but they fully accept. Well, they didn't really fully accept. As a matter of fact, they cut off all relations with Russia. But surprisingly, though, Russia, they still have visa-free travel for Russians and everything. So they're pretty accommodating towards Russian citizens, even with everything that's happened. So it's quite interesting. But the thing is, though, is that with what's with what's happened, in Georgia, they managed to manage it. But because Ukraine is a vassal state of the U.S. empire, and it's basically also a neo-Nazi state because of it, it turned out unfortunate for them, and it is quite unfortunate. But that's what happens when you fully trust the U.S. empire. I kind of like to view what's happening in Ukraine to what happened in Lebanon, with the Lebanese civil war. Now, the thing is, though, is that when I was researching and stuff, I would say that I actually fully support the Syrian intervention in Lebanon, because when we intervened in Lebanon, we gave it full sovereignty because of it, it being managed under Hezbollah and everything. Now, of course, I am aware that, that makes it a vassal state of Iran. I don't think it is a vassal state of Iran per se. I do feel like it has its own sovereignty, but it has more sovereignty than it would have if it was under the U.S. Empire's influence, the French influence, and yes, even Israeli influence, because they did invade southern Lebanon, you know, back then, like back in the 80s, and it was on the verge of being a vassal state to the U.S. Empire and also to the Israelis, you know. So I view that in the same way with the Russian invasion of Ukraine, as in they were like, you know, maybe at some point trying to give it sovereignty, just as Syria brought sovereignty to Lebanon when they like, you know, took over. Now, of course, I am aware of the Syrian occupation and its inhumane policies, and I do condemn it. As a matter of fact, I also condemn Syria, you know, being occupying Lebanon for too long. Like, they kind of occupied it till 2005. They probably should have left sometime after Israel left in 2000, when it regained all of its territory back. So I do condemn that, but other than that, I do support, you know, the Syrian intervention, because it would have been a massive security threat had Lebanon become a vassal state to the U.S. Empire or to Israel. In the same way that Ukraine would have been a huge security threat to it being a vassal state to both the to the U.S. Empire and also to Europe as well. Like, the fact that Ukraine wants to join Europe, and I'm like, no, if you join Europe, you'd lose all your sovereignty. Hence why I'm a hardcore Eurosceptic to the point where I'm like, European Union should be abolished altogether. It's caused nothing but misery for both Europe and the entire world, you know? So, hence why I'm fully opposed to it. So yeah, I guess that's about it. I didn't expect to talk about the last topic, but I guess I want to just mention my few thoughts on it, considering I had more time. So I'll stop right here. It is, let's see, over 44 minutes, but normally I don't make gameplays on a Sunday, but because I had nothing to do and it is Easter, I figured, hey, why not? I just talk a little bit, make a little SLG part, you know? So yeah, that's what happened. I don't know if it will be a two-parter, because I want to have more space for the title, but we'll see. So yeah, that's what's happened. I mean, happy Easter to everyone. I hope you have a wonderful time with your families and your loved ones and stuff. I also hope the Middle East would be in peace during that time. I mean, I am aware of what's happening in Palestine, so I ask you guys to pray for my brothers and sisters for what's happening, it being a victim to Israel and the U.S. Empire. Hopefully this empire will collapse in the near future. And all I'll just say is that just have faith in Jesus and hope for a better world, I would say. So yeah, anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next gameplay series. Alright, bye everyone.